Hi y'all, it's Goretta. Unfortunately, the beginning of our video had a little bit of audio trouble, so the first 2 minutes are not up to our normal quality. Thankfully, it resolves itself quickly. So I hope that y'all can forgive us and enjoy the video anyway. Bye!
In the woods, beyond the head of Graveyard Holler, there lives a witch who cast a spell to become the most famous horror host in the world. And her name is Goretta.
Scared folks, come on in and set you a spell. For the newcomers, Heidi there. I'm Goretta Sin, critter of the night, mother of screams, popper of corn, and the greatest horror movie host in the world. For those of you who have been here before, welcome back. It's good to see y'all. I feel like I haven't seen you in a month of Sundays. Tonight we're going to take a look at the movie that begs the question, what's your favorite scary movie? Scream! The telephone don't usually ring at this part of the show. Should I answer it? Hello?
Do you want to play a game?
Burial Mound Deep. I know it. Also, you've got the wrong movie, honey. Jigsaw from Saw asks people if they want to play a game, and he doesn't use the phone. Ghostface from Scream, which is what we are watching, uses the phone, but he asks people, what's your favorite scary movie?
Oh, actually, I meant, do you want to, play a game with me after the show? I don't know, we got Candyland.
Well, sweetie, I do have plans with Stephanie right after the episode, but I'd love to play a game with you maybe on one of our breaks.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, now you get off my phone now, darling. I gotta get back here with this show. Bye.
Yes'm.
We'll be right back, folks. This episode of Goretta, Critter of the Night is sponsored by the law offices of Jenkins, and Dracula. Have you been injured in a car accident? Are you a Dracula? If so, Jenkins, and Dracula may be able to get you the money that you deserve. So give them a call today at 1-666-DRACULA. That's 1-666-DRACULA to find out if Jenkins, and Dracula is the law firm for you. And don't forget to tell them that Goretta sent you.
Goretta was filmed in front of a dead studio audience.
This is one of the meta movies. You know, it's a movie that satirizes the genre that it's in. It's also the longest movie we've ever done, so there's plenty to talk about. Let's get into it. Scream was released in 1996, directed by Master of Fright Wes Craven, and written by Kevin Williamson. It stars Neve Campbell, David Arquette, Courtney Cox, Jamie Kennedy, Rose McGowan, Matthew Lillard, and Skeeter by God Ulrich. That's his name. You can look it up. It begins with the ringing of a phone. Hello? We're in a pretty fancy house out in the boonies, and resident teen Casey, played by Drew Barrymore of the Hollywood Barrymores, is home alone. But Casey's parents have definitely taught her how to deal with someone calling on the home phone.
Hello?
Yes?
Who is this?
Who are you trying to reach?
What number is this?
What number are you trying to reach?
I don't know.
Well, I think you have the wrong number.
Do I?
It happens. Take it easy.
This weirdo calls back. Then he calls back for a third time, but this time he hooks her with a question.
What's your favorite scary movie?
I don't know.
You have to have a favorite. What comes to mind?
Halloween.
Casey starts warming up when they start chatting about movies. She even gets a little flirty.
So, you got a boyfriend?
Why? You want to ask me out on a date?
You never told me your name.
Why do you want to know my name?
I want to know who I'm looking at.
The energy shifts on a dime at that point. Casey looks like she's just been hit by a bucket of ice water. She hangs up the phone, he calls back, she hangs up again. The tension is really starting to build, and I love the way that they use the Jiffy Pop to let the audience know that we are about to reach a breaking point. The phone rings again. Casey is now over it. She is just about to tell this joker what for when he cuts her off with this particularly nasty line.
You listen, you little bitch. You hang up on me again, I'll gut you like a fish, understand?
Casey runs off to lock the door, still on the phone for some reason. When she finally hangs up on this guy, he's telling her he wants to see what her insides look like. At this point, our girl Casey is a mess.
Who's there? I'm calling the police.
That poor baby's jumpier than a frog with a bottle rocket up its butt. Casey finally musters the gumption to tell him that he needs to get out of there because her big football-playing boyfriend is on his way over. But oh dear, the big football-playing boyfriend is not on his way over, he's already there. Unfortunately for Casey, he is also bloodied up and duct taped to a chair on her patio. At this point, the caller says that he wants to play a game.
Here's how we play. I ask a question. If you get it right, Steve lives.
Please don't do that.
Come on, it'll be fun.
Please.
Name the killer in Halloween.
No.
Come on, it's your favorite scary movie, remember? He had a white mask, he stalked the babysitters.
No.
Come on, yes you
No.
do.
Michael.
Yes!
This is Mike Myers.
Now for the real question. Name the killer in Friday the 13th.
Jason!
Nope. I distinctly recall that it was a woman what was killing people in that movie.
Barry is correct, and Casey is wrong. So unfortunately, Steve, the big football-playing boyfriend, gets murdered. Then, creepy caller eats a patio chair through the door and busts in. We catch sight of him in a cheap Halloween costume stalking Casey through the burnt popcorn smoke. She runs outside, but it's no use. Old Ghostface grabs her and gives her a little bit of the stabby, chokey before she kicks him right in the balls. Casey's parents arrive home, and she almost gets their attention before old Ghostface grabs her from behind. Her parents are shocked at the state of the house, and they begin looking for her, yelling out Casey's name. They pick up the phone. And they can hear her tortured whimpers. Finally, they leave the house, and that's when the camera switches to their POV as they run up and see Casey's dead body hanging from a tree. Y'all, if there is one reason that this movie was an instant hit, it might be this opening sequence. It's a pretty fun and clever riff on the old "the call is coming from inside the house" trope, and you can't help but to admire the way they play with audience expectations by killing off Drew Barrymore, who in 1996 was legitimately America's sweetheart in the first 13 minutes of the movie. After that killer opening, we are introduced to the movie's fresh-faced heroine, Sidney Prescott. She's hanging out in her bedroom when her skeezy boyfriend Skeeter climbs in through the window like he's Sam from Clarissa Explains It All. But he's nothing like Sam from Clarissa Explains It All. He's Skeeter, the mayor of Date Rape City.
Well, 2 years ago, we started off hot and heavy. Nice solid R rating on our way to an NC-17. And now, things have changed, and lately we're just sort of edited for television.
Who else have we met that relates everything to the movies? Anyway, Sidney pushes him back out the window and goes to sleep. The next day, news teams are lined up outside of Woodsboro High School to report on the murders. Sydney's friend Tatum fills her in on the deaths.
You don't know?
Casey Becker and Steve Orth were killed last night.
What? No way. And we're not just talking killed, we're talking splattered movie killed. Ripped open from end to end. Casey Becker, she sits next to me in English. Not anymore.
It's all hands on deck to try and figure out these murders and manage the kids' trauma. We meet Tatum's big brother Dewey, who's a deputy at the local police department, and also Principal the Fonz, who is the principal, and also the Fonz. You see, everyone's treating Sydney with kid gloves because her mama got murdered a year ago.
We're going to keep this very brief, Sydney. The police just want to ask you a few questions. You okay?
Mm-hmm. Then we meet the whole Scooby Gang. We've got Sydney, the traumatized virginal sweetheart, Skeeter, her greasy boyfriend, Tatum, Sydney's sarcastic friend, and Tatum's dumb shit boyfriend, Stu. Oh, and don't forget nerdy fifth wheel Randy. I almost did. They're all discussing the murders, and that's when we get this exchange that's not even a little bit suspicious.
I didn't kill anybody. Nobody said you did.
Subtle. And with that, we're off and running. Who is the ghost face? What's the story with Sydney's mama's murder? What is your favorite scary movie? We'll talk about all of that and more when we get back. Barry, I swear if this is you, I'ma have your hide. Metaphorically speaking, you don't have a hide. Hello?
Hello.
Who is this?
It is I, Christopher T. Robot.
Greetings, Lorder of my land. What can I do for you today?
I have a question for you.
Neat.
What is a skeleton's favorite instrument?
I don't know, the saxophone?
No, it's the xylophone.
Well, I gotta go. I've got a turnip in the oven. But bye now. We'll be right back. After school, Sydney comes home to an empty house because her dad's away on business. And that's sort of weird, because as we see intrepid reporter Gail Weathers, who is cosplaying as business casual April O'Neil,
I can't handle this.
reminding her viewers that this weekend is the anniversary of Sydney's mom's murder. Sydney lies down for a good old depression nap and wakes up because the phone is ringing. It's Tatum, who's calling to let her know she's gonna stop on by the video store on her way to pick up Sydney for a sleepover. They hang up, and a few seconds later, the phone rings again. But this time, it's not Tatum.
Tatum, just get in the car.
Hello, Sydney.
Hi. Who is this?
It's the ghost face! He says he's out on her front porch, so she goes outside, leaving her door open to look around the corner of her wraparound porch. When she doesn't see him, she decides it's a prank, but when he brings up her mom, she gets mad and angrily goes inside and locks the door. But it's too late. The ghost face jumps out of the closet and attacks her. Sydney shakes him and manages to get to her room, but Ghost Man is on her trail. She opens her closet and jams it up against her bedroom door so it can't open all the way, and then she uses the power of the internet to call the cops. Where the heck did you come from, Skeeter? That's awful convenient. And what are you doing with that cell phone? Sydney is also suspicious, so she runs away only to be surprised at the front door. The cops arrest Skeeter because it does seem like he's the ghost face. Down at the police station, we learn a few things. Sydney's daddy never checked into his hotel, and he ain't even registered. The ghost face costume is sold every dang where, and there's no way to trace it that way. And Skeeter's gonna spend the night in jail until they have time to check his cellular phone records. Finally, Sydney's allowed to leave with Tatum, and they go out the back way to avoid getting some attention, but they still run into Gail.
What happened? Are you alright? She's not answering any questions, alright? Just leave us alone.
No, Tatum, it's okay. She's just doing her job, right, Kim?
Yes, that's right.
So, how's the book? Well, it'll be out later this year. Oh, I'll look for it. I'll send you a copy.
Okay, the show's over.
The girls go to Tatum's house for a sleepover. They're laying around in their jammies when the phone rings. Tatum's mom comes in and says it's for Sydney.
Hello?
Hello, Sydney.
No!
Poor Billy boyfriend. An innocent guy doesn't stand a chance with you.
Leave me alone!
Looks like you fingered the wrong guy. Again.
The next day begins with Nick Cave playing over breakfast, like most ominous days do. The TV news helpfully lets us know what your ghost boy was talking about on the phone last night. A man named Cotton Weary is in jail for murdering Sydney's mama. Old Sid's testimony, fingering him, was a key part of his conviction. But other people, Gail Weathers chief among them, are not convinced that Cotton Weary is actually guilty. So you could say there's some tension there. Meanwhile, Deputy Dewey reports that Skeeter's cellular phone records prove that he wasn't the one who called her as the ghost face. That plus the fact that she got another call while Skeeter was in jail seems to clear him. Deputy Dewey drops the girls off at school and, whew, this line has not aged well since 1996.
Don't worry, Sid, it's school. You'll be safe here.
Because teenagers are jerks, somebody at school is dressed up as the ghost face running down the hall. This understandably upsets Sydney. She runs down the hall and bumps directly into Skeeter. She doesn't think he's the killer anymore, but after this conversation, I'm pretty sure she's certain he's an asshole.
Sorry, please understand.
Understand what? I have a girlfriend who would rather accuse me of being a psychopathic killer than touch me.
Billy, I was attacked and nearly filleted last night.
You haven't been the same since your mother died. I think it's time you got over that. I mean, when my mom left my dad, I accepted it. It's the way it is. She's not coming back.
Wow. Well, it's time to check in with Principal LaFons while he goes peak boomer on a couple of jerk kids.
You make me so sick. Your entire havoc-inducing, thieving, whoring generation disgusts me. You're both expelled. Get out. That's not fair. You're absolutely right. It is not fair. Fairness would be to rip your insides out, hang you from a tree so we can expose you for the heartless, desensitized little shits that you are.
Flashing scissors and threatening kids is not very Fonz-like. In fact, it's more like the ghost face. Meanwhile, Gail is pulling out all the stops to get information about the murder investigation. She bats her eyes at Deputy Dewey, and it works. He is putty in her hands.
Everything's under control.
Well, of course, you're here. You look awfully young to be a police officer.
I'm 25 years old.
You know, in a demographic study, I proved to be most popular amongst males 11 to 24. I guess I just missed you.
I'm 25. I was 24 for a whole year.
School's canceled and curfew's announced, and the teens do what teens do in this kind of movie when those things happen. Playing a party! Inside the school, Principal LaFons is messing around putting on a ghost face mask when there's a knock at the door.
Yes. Hello?
Call me?
Huh? Not your friend.
I guess he's not Ghostface. Back at Tatum's house, she and Sid are having a little heart-to-heart about Sydney's mom.
It goes further back, Sid. There's been talk about other men. And you believe it? Well, I mean, you can only hear that Richard Gere gerbil story so many times before you have to start believing it.
Richard Gere catching strays!
You know, if I was wrong about Cotton Weary, then the killer's still out there. But don't go there, Sid. Don't freak yourself out, okay? We've got a long night ahead of us. Let's boogie.
Wait, was that the ghost face or the Bigfoot? Oh boy, it's time to check in at the video store with our friend Randy, the designated comic relief. He's shelving returned videotapes when who should show up but Stu and Skeeter. The boys exchange theories about who could be the murderer.
I think it's her father. Why can't they find her pops, man? I'm telling you, the dad's a red herring. It's Billy.
How do we know you're not the killer?
You're absolutely right. I'm the first to admit it. If this were a scary movie, I'd be the prime suspect.
What would be your motive?
It's the millennium. Motives are incidental.
Elsewhere, Deputy Dewey is patrolling the streets with a hearty ice cream cone in hand. He finds out that the Ghostface calls have been linked to a cellular phone owned by Sydney's dad. And with that, it's time to go to a party. Night has fallen and it's party time. Cars are lined up outside of the massive farmhouse where Stu lives. Dewey lets the girls out right at the door, but he's not the only adult at this shindig. Gail Weathers is there too in her news van, along with her long-suffering cameraman Kenny. They are trying to be sneaky, but Dewey clocks them immediately. It's a good thing that Gail is still a pretty lady.
I'm gonna check the party out.
Do you mind if I join you?
Not at all.
The partygoers are trying to decide which horror movie to watch when the doorbell rings. Stu asks Tatum to go get him some more beer while he lets Dewey and Gail inside. Sydney pulls Dewey away to ask about her dad, and this gives Gail time to plant a spy camera in the entertainment console. Meanwhile, Tatum goes out to the garage with her headlights on to get the beer. She grabs an armload, but then discovers she's been locked out of the house. Unbothered, she just opens the garage door so she can get out that way. But by the time she gets over there, the garage door has started coming down again. Tatum tries to escape through the dog door but gets stuck. And then Ghostface activates the most powerful garage door motor in existence. The garage door lifts all the way up until Tatum's head is crushed, killing her. Back inside, the party is wrapping up.
Oh, Billy, hey.
Stu asks Skeeter what he's doing there, which is weird, and Skeeter says that he's there to talk to Sydney alone. Stu offers up his parents' room for privacy, and Sydney agrees, taking old Skeeter by the hand. Sydney and Skeeter are doing a chilling reenactment of every post-fight conversation that a high school girl and boy have, in which the girl is pestered into ignoring her emotional needs so that a rat-faced boy can get into her drawers.
I'm sorry.
No, Billy, I'm the one who's been selfish and self-absorbed with all this post-traumatic stress.
Downstairs, we see a bunch of kids watching Halloween.
This is a Halloween mask!
The uncultured among them keep asking questions about the action on the screen, so Randy enlightens them in what is probably the most signature scene in this movie.
There are certain rules that one must abide by in order to successfully survive a horror movie. Number 1, you can never have sex. Number 2, you can never drink or do drugs. It's a sin. It's an extension of number 1. And number 3, never, ever, ever, under any circumstances say, I'll be right back. Because you won't be back.
I'm getting another beer. You want one?
Yeah, sure.
I'll be right back!
How accurate are Randy's rules, really? Do they hold up to scrutiny? Let me know what you think in the comments. Back at the van, Gail and Kenny are watching the spy cam, which has a 30-second delay. Dewey shows up to ask Gail if she wants to come with him to investigate an abandoned car down the road. Very romantic, Dewey. Downstairs, Randy still has a group of boys watching the movie with him when the phone rings.
Hello? Yeah? Listen up. They found Principal Henry dead. He was gutted and hung from the goalpost on the football field.
Let's go over there before they pry him down.
And then there were 4. Only Sydney, Skeeter, Stu, and Randy are left at the party. I almost forgot him again, even though I was just talking about him literally 2 seconds ago. Fifth wheel syndrome. Nobody's ever thinking about you, Randy. You're gonna die alone. The kids racing to celebrate their principal's death run Dewey and Gail off the road, and they tumble into the bushes on top of one another. And because movie law does dictate this, they kiss. But in those bushes, they see a car. And whose car is that? Why, it's Sydney's dad's car. They race back to the house. Back in Stu's parents' room, Sydney catches Skeeter in what sounds a whole lot like a lie.
Who'd you call? I don't know, when you're arrested, you're allowed one phone call, so I was just curious. Who'd you call?
Called my dad.
No, Sheriff Burke called your dad. I saw him.
When I called, I didn't get an answer.
Yes, that's super convincing, Sydney. But just as it looks like old Skeeter is the ghost face bursts in and attacks him.
Sydney.
Billy, watch out!
Ghostface isn't stopping with Skeeter, though. It's always been all about Sydney. She runs through the house as he chases her and escapes into the attic. The killer starts making his way through the barricade that she made. So she climbs out onto the roof. Somehow, she isn't incredibly injured from that fall. She rolls off the boat and looks up. Ghostface is gone, but she sees her best friend's dead body hanging in the garage door. I guess that Randy's a little hard of hearing because he's still watching the movie despite Sydney screaming upstairs.
Watch out, Jamie. You know he's around. There he is. I told you he's right around the corner.
Behind you.
Close call for Randy. Guess we can wipe him off the suspect list as well. Sydney makes a beeline for the news van, hollering the whole way. Kenny lets her in and they watch in horror on the feed as Ghostface stalks up behind Randy.
Long 30-second delay.
Sydney manages to wiggle out through the van, leaving Ghostface behind, and books it to the house. Booking it from a different direction toward the same house is Deputy Dewey and Gail Goddamn Weathers. Dewey tells Gail to go to her van, lock herself in, and call the cops. But while she's calling, she gets spooked by Randy. See you later, Gail. Sydney returns to the house just in time to see Dewey walking out with a knife stuck in his back. Ghostface comes out and chases Sydney, who gets into the cop car and locks the doors and cranks up the windows. Run, girl, run! Sydney follows my advice and runs up to the porch, grabbing the gun off of Dewey's unconscious body. At that exact moment, Randy and Stu both run up, yelling that the other one's the killer.
Please, Sydney, don't! You both! Please!
Just then, Skeeter tumbles down the stairs into Sydney's arms, and he takes the gun from her and walks over to the door.
Help me! He's gone mad!
We all go a little mad sometimes. Corn syrup. Same stuff they use for pig's blood in Cary.
Surprise, Sydney. What's the matter, Sydney? You look like you've seen a ghost.
There are two ghost faces?
I'll never get away with this.
Tell that to Cotton Weary. You wouldn't believe how easy he was to frame.
Watch a few movies, take a few notes.
It was fun.
Why did you kill my mother?
You hear that, Stu? I think she wants a motive. I don't really believe in motive, Sid. I mean, did Norman Bates have a motive? See, it's a lot scarier when there's no motive, Sid. Now, how about this? Your slut mother was my father, and she's the reason my mom moved out and abandoned me.
For their plan to work, these two knuckleheads can't escape unscathed, so they take turns stabbing each other.
I'm feeling woozy here.
Couple of geniuses, I tell you.
You get the gun.
Houston, we have a problem here. Gun, man, the gun. I put it right there. It's not there. Where the f*** is it?
Right here, asshole.
It's Gail goddamn Weathers. She ain't dead. Unfortunately for Gail, she hasn't taken the safety off of the gun, so the ghost faces are able to disarm her and knock her out, throwing her body back on top of Deputy Dewey. Suddenly, Stu realizes that Sydney and her dad have gotten away. Then, the phone rings.
Tell that the machine did it?
Hello? Are you alone in the house?
Ghostface flies out of the closet and starts stabbing Skeeter over and over with a green umbrella till he's unconscious and flat on the floor. It's Sydney. Just then, Stu charges at Sydney, but she takes care of him by tipping one of those big butt TVs over on his noggin. Sydney walks back through the wreckage, but we need another jump scare or two in the last few minutes of this movie.
Sorry.
Oh my god, Randy, I thought you were dead.
Randy's alive, but so is Skeeter. Gail goddamn Weathers, finally, because he is such a big horror movie fan, Skeeter comes back one more time for a last scare. Dawn is breaking, and we see Dewey being loaded up into an ambulance. He's okay, though. Gail has found a new camera operator from somewhere, and she starts reporting on the scene as a crane shot lifts up and over to the left, scanning the horizon as the dawn breaks hazily. This movie is a real fun time. I didn't even mention all the Easter eggs, like Linda Blair as a news reporter, Wes Craven dressed like Freddy Krueger as a janitor, all of the quotes and movie references. That alone makes this a real fun rewatch. You know, Scream was so successful that it basically revived the idea of horror movies as blockbusters. By the mid-90s, the slasher genre had played itself out. Scream gathered up all the stale tropes that had been developed over the years and let the audience laugh at how stale they had become. Then Craven and crew delivered a truly solid contribution to that played-out genre. The balance of humor and horror in Scream is finely tuned. The characters are engaging, and the mystery has enough red herrings in it to keep a first-time viewer guessing who is the ghost face right up until the end. That said, the mystery is also fun for repeat viewers who get to see how hilariously and immediately obvious it is that Stu and Skeeter are the ghost faces. So, if you want to laugh and jump out of your skin in equal measure, or just fondly remember a time when you could tell a teenager that being safe at school was a given, I say pop a wobbly copy of Scream into your old VCR. Oh hey Stephanie. Yeah, we just finished up. No, I didn't know that Drew Barrymore was originally cast as Sydney. Really? What? It was Drew Barrymore's idea to be Casey instead because it would be most shocking if the biggest star in the movie was killed in the first few minutes. Oh, that is diabolical. Like, that is so genius. Nah, girl, I didn't forget. Tonight is ladies' night at the Graveyard Holler Bolorama Bar and Grill. Me and old DJ Webb had planned to go down there tonight. Well, folks, that's our show. Join us next time when we're gonna crack open the Necronomicon and cover The Evil Dead. What do you mean Bruce Campbell's your hall pass? Girl, who you dating?